Hi, I'm Elise, this is Witch Way, and today I'll be taking you through the witch lore of York Witches Society. Released in 2022, this horror stars Georgia Locke as Amber, Sasha Craven as Kirsten, Adwa Akata as Alanda, Sophie Blore as Charlotte, Sasha Clark as Kate, Rose Quentin as Jessica, Vivian Mills as Emily, and Kirsty Ann Shaw as Flora. Amber has just started at university, and the York Witch Society, an elite social group, has taken an interest in her and, by default, her roommate Kirsten. The two are to be initiated into the group, but Amber's initiation awakens a power inside of her, as well as an ancient evil intent on hunting witches, and a night of fun and Samhain celebrations soon turns into a fight for survival. Samhain, where we find the roots of Halloween, is still celebrated by some witches today in their Wheel of the Year. On this night, as part of their initiation, Kirsten and Amber are instructed to make wheat dolls. As Samhain takes place during harvest season, it makes sense that they would include this in their celebrations. Known as corn mothers or corn dollies, these come from European pagan customs where, as the spirit of the crops was made essentially homeless after the harvest, the doll was made to house the spirit until the new crops were ploughed. The two then have to memorize new spells from the York Witches Society's grimoire. This spellbook looks great, but much of the artwork looks to be collated from stock images, though they did include an edited version of an actual woodcut from 1625's England's Grievance, discovered by Ralph Gardner. We see other woodcuts during a lecture at the university, whose name is mentioned in passing.
We cannot allow our students here at Lilith to feel it is appropriate to threaten a professor.
Lilith is thought by some to be the first witch. But at this lecture, we see an image depicting witches and the devil from the History of Witches and Wizards from 1720, and one depicts 3 witches burning in the 1555 Derenburg witch trials. The lecturer also mentions the Witch Hunting Guide,
the Malleus Maleficarum,
and King James's Demonology.
King James's own book, Demonology.
She also makes a snide remark when displaying this image.
This brings being stoned to a whole new level.
This is, of course, the infamous Giles Corey, who was pressed to death for a confession during the Salem witch trials of 1692 to 1693. But to wrap up this slideshow, we see a terrifying image of the apparent witch hunter general. Matthew Hopkins was the real so-called witch finder general, living from 1620 to 1647. He bestowed the title to himself and was responsible for convicting many people of witchcraft, earning him a hefty sum. Our Witchfinder General is introduced before the burning of an accused witch, sometime in the early 1600s, if his grave has anything to say about it. He claims to have the last witch in England on the pyre.
You are the last witch in England.
The last witches of England, at least those last executed legally, were the victims of the Bideford witch trials of 1682. But we are in York, which itself has a dark history when it comes to witches. There is even a walking tour of the area based around their witchy history. But here's a few that I found. In 1603, Mary Pannell was apparently a cunning woman accused of witchcraft following the death of a child she had attempted to heal. She was believed to have been hanged in York, though other sources state that she was in fact burned at the stake near Castleford, where her ghost apparently still haunts the area. In 1612, one of the infamous Pendle witches, Janet Preston, was tried and hanged for witchcraft in York. In 1649, Isabella Billington was hanged in York after apparently crucifying her own mother, though this hanging was apparently for murder, though witchcraft rumours persist. And in 1809, Mary Bateman, known as the Yorkshire Witch, was hanged at York Castle. She was a murderer and con artist, and if you want to hear her full story, I highly recommend checking out the Yorkshire Witch episode of The Dollop, which I will be sure to link below. It is absolutely hilarious. But I guess we've got to add our fictional witch Heather Grey to the list, who we see being burned at the stake in the early 1600s. Witchcraft in England was considered a crime, so hanging was the punishment, not burning, though other crimes were punishable by burning, like heresy. So if found guilty of these crimes alongside witchcraft, burning would be carried out. Witchcraft itself was considered heresy in Scotland, so burning was indeed the punishment, though sometimes they were put out of their misery before being burned. The pub where the York Witches hang out is cleverly named the Burning Bell with an E, referring to the woman and not the instrument. I thought this was a nice touch. There is a really cool scene in this pub where Amber can be seen standing with two others within a circle of salt, very reminiscent of Hecate or the Triple Goddess, whose symbol they actually draw on the wall. And they do in fact invoke the power of three and mention the most well-known witch trio possibly of all time.
Good things come in threes. It's a magic number. It's powerful. The witches in Macbeth, the Holy Trinity.
This film scores for lore, history, and the craft, and I really enjoyed it. At least the first part, but when it turned into the survival horror chapter, I have a few peeves, such as how familiar someone who died in the 17th century would be with modern technology in the space of a day. Otherwise, great story and filming. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, as well as any other witchy recommendations for my upcoming witch lore reviews. Follow me on socials for some additional content. Otherwise, please remember to like this video, share it with anyone else who you think may enjoy it, and subscribe to my channel for some upcoming content. As always, thank you very much for watching here on Witch Way.